Well, good morning. I'm Ron. This is the Cold Warrior 78 channel. Haven't been able to do a lot of these recently because I've just been terribly busy. Let me show you what our current project is and some of the issues I'm having with it, and I'll take you with me through the project as best I can. Alright, so stand by. Alright, so what you see in front of you right here, the big tank, we're going to try to grow tilapia in that. In front of that is part of the filter system. Try not to move too fast here. Alright, this is a solid settling tank where the fish poop comes out. I'll explain how that works in a little bit. And then as you continue to the left, over here is a hydroponics grow bed, which is also a bioreactor for the fish. Now let me explain that a little bit, and I'll explain some of the trouble I've been having with this. Okay, so now for those of you who have never looked at a hydroponic system before, or an aquaponics system, fish culture, aquaculture, there's a bunch of different names for the various elements of this. Basically the concept is you grow fish in a tank, the fish waste the solid waste gets filtered out in that first tank, and then the urine, the pee, goes through to the bioreactor, the big bed with all those little clay balls in it. And in there you get bacteria that breaks the ammonia in the urine down from ammonia to nitrate, ammonia to nitrite, and then nitrite to nitrate. Okay, ammonia is very toxic to fish, nitrite is very toxic to fish, nitrate not so much, and the nitrate is what you can use to grow plants. Okay, so it's a several step process in there. If you want more information on that, just look on YouTube. There are hundreds of videos. I can recommend, there's an Australian guy whose channel is Rob Bob Aquaponics. I mean, he's got a whole channel related to this kind of stuff. The designs I have here, no genius. I copied it off of other guys I saw on the internet. So they can explain it because they've been doing it for years. I'm still trying to get into this. So let me explain the issues that I'm having and why we're wrestling with this particular project at the moment. Hang on. All right, so when you're doing one of these kind of systems, there's a number of competing numbers, if you will. The fish tank, which is behind me over here, all right, the standard that most people will tell you is that the water in the fish tank needs to be exchanged at least once an hour, sometimes twice an hour, sometimes every 15 minutes. The more often, obviously, the better. Now, this is a cut-off IBC tote. You've seen those before. Approximately 200 gallons is what's left there. So you're looking at getting a circulation pump that'll run 200 gallons an hour or more. So your issue then becomes, and let me bring it over to the other section here. This is your part of your filter system, okay? This is a settling tank. So if you put 200 gallons an hour into your fish tank, then you need to get 200 gallons an hour through your settling tank, and then 200 gallons an hour through your raised bed, not raised bed, but grow bed. All right. Now there's a problem with balancing all that because there's only one pump in the system, and that pump puts water into the fish tank back here. Everything else is gravity fed. So there is one rate of flow pretty much for the whole system. Now, as you can see, I'll try not to move this around, give you guys vertigo. Most builds will have a valve on the inlet water. This is the hose that goes back to the pump. All right. So you can regulate it here on how much water is getting into the tank. Then this is... you can go see Rob Bob's videos on how this works, but the water comes out of the fish tank, down through these pipes, down to the bottom there. This is a stilling well. Comes up, overflows the top of here, goes back down again, so the fish poop collects at the bottom. That's the drain to get the fish poop out. and then your water continues out over here into the grow bed. Okay, pretty simple concept. The problem is, again, 200 gallons an hour there has to equal 200 gallons an hour here. Now let me explain something just a little bit more. And for those of you who are not familiar with this system, there's a bell siphon in here, and the idea is it cycles the water all the way up. The bell siphon kicks in, drains the water down, water comes back up, bell siphon kicks in, drains the water all the way back down. The guys who do the hydroponic systems videos, Bob's got a really good explanation on that. There's several other guys that have really good explanations on that, so I'm not going to bore you with the details of how that works. Basically, this is a flood and drain system. Okay, water goes up, water goes down. The problem is if you have too much water coming in here, the siphon doesn't work properly, and either it stays flooded or it drains down, but it keeps draining and the siphon never cuts off. So you lose the up and down flood and drain part of the problem. Also, because the pump I got, I'll show you this. Okay, Pond Master, an excellent brand recommended to me by a number of people. But this is a 500 gallon per hour pump. Again, I needed a minimum of 200 to do a minimum of 1 water exchange an hour, and quite a few people were recommending more than that. So okay, that's the pump I got. So at that rate, let me plug this pump in and show you how this thing is working. And if anybody does this, make sure you do your electric right. Don't get any extra points for shocking yourself. Alright, so again, this valve regulates how much water comes out here, and the goal of that is to regulate how much water goes into the grow bed over there. Here's the problem. At 500 gallons per hour, you have to put in a bypass, so I'm dumping the majority of that water straight back into the sump. It's not really being circulated. Because when I open this, and you can see how this is necked down, if I open that all the way up, I get a lot more water obviously coming into here, but it overflows on the other end. So after looking at several of the other videos, let me show you what I'm thinking about doing. Alright, so we're looking at the, for lack of a better term, overflow. And all it is you have the pump down there in the water. You probably can't see that. The hose coming up, this goes out to the fish tank, and then this allows the excess to be drained off so that I don't have too much water coming in over here. Well, that kind of defeats the 200 gallons an hour that I need to get through the whole filtration process. So one of the ways that guys way smarter than me have come up with is to, this is called a single loop system, where you have one pump, water goes up, goes all the way through the system, hits the siphon, goes back down, winds up in the sump again down here. One loop. That's cool, but it doesn't balance properly. I can't get enough volume of water coming out of the fish tank and through here and limit the amount of water here. Now, potentially if I had a second grow bed attached to this, that would help it some, but at the moment I don't have one. And I'm not sure I need one for the bioreactor capability, because that's the primary reason I'm doing this, is to neutralize the ammonia in the fish pee so that we don't kill the fish. So another way of doing this rather than a single loop system is what they call a split loop or a dual loop system. And that takes water from the pump, and one cycle brings it up around the back, up to the fish tank, out of the fish tank down into the settling well, and then from here, instead of going into the grow bed, it'll go down back into the sump. Okay, how do you get water into the grow bed now? So you take what had been effectively an overflow device, that comes up here, and now this second loop now runs your grow bed, and that allows you to vary the amount of water that you're using in your grow bed so that it does flood and drain properly. And then the water from here can just go down in the sump again, which allows you to run this part of the system at a high enough rate that you're removing the waste. So stand by. All right, so the whole problem, again, is that if you have a single loop system, at least the one I made, I'm getting too much flow through the system into the grow bed, and I'm killing the grow bed's ability to raise and lower, flood and drain the way it's supposed to in order to get the bacteria to work properly. So I'm going from that single loop system to a dual loop system where the pump goes up to the fish tank, down through the filter, back in the sump, up from the sump, over to the grow bed at a different flow rate running the grow bed. Now what that'll allow me to do is add another grow bed later on when I have the materials and the wherewithal to do that. Based on the initial calculations I have, I'm not ever going to have enough fish in the big tank that I need to have a bunch of grow beds, but if that becomes an issue, then I'll make another grow bed. But having the split loop system means that I can use the second part of the system, which is feeding the grow beds, just to feed the grow beds. That gives me a lot more flexibility in controlling the flow rate on the one side, and I can have a different flow rate on the other side. So the fish should stay clean and happy, and yet I can still get the wastes up to the grow bed biofilter and remove them so that the fish stay clean and happy. At least that's the goal. So now I'm going to delve into what do I have laying around the homestead that I can make this work, and we'll see where we go from there. So stand by. Okay, we're back again. So I was able to go get the fitting I needed. Let me show you how I've changed things to solve our problem. All right, so again, fish tank. It's kind of dark, but okay, so here's the PVC pipe that loads the fish tank. I'm going to come around here, just past the filter tank. Now last time when you saw this, thanks to that rubber sleeve up there, this was putting water into the grow bed up here. Now, the only piece of pipe, or only piece I had to go get is this 45-degree fitting right here. I cut off the threaded end that was on that 3/4 inch PVC, shoved another piece of PVC in there. That's not glued on at the moment, so I have to, before I test it, I gotta wait for the glue to dry. And that goes down into the sump down here. Actually, we don't need this anymore. All right, so this is just a water trough for cattle. Pumps down in the, oh there you go, you can see it now I think. Anyway, pumps down in there. Comes out to the T. That part goes around behind there, up through here. Feeds the barrel. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not a barrel, that's a IBC tote. Where the fish are, comes out of here, down through the pipes, into the bottom of the stilling well, up to the center. Now for those of you who haven't seen one of the other guys' videos, here's what a stilling well looks like. It's a vertical pipe. The water comes up to the top and just kind of overflows the pipe, and it goes down and it falls down inside this bigger 6-inch diameter pipe. The 6-inch diameter pipe goes down to about here. So the water comes in, up, spews out at the top, but it's not under pressure, so it's a rather gentle flow. The solids float to the bottom, and then we will take them out with that valve. The water itself, once it's dumped the poop, will hit the overflow level right here, come down through there, and now back down into the sump. So that's one side of the loop. The second side of the loop is going to come from the pump up to the T, grab this hose, come this way through this absolutely jury-rigged redneck engineering piece of equipment, PVC pipe, and that's going to now feed the grow bed, and I can adjust it with this little knob to see how it goes. This little piece of plastic is just here to divert the water so the water doesn't drill a hole through the rocks. You know, you've seen the way water can do that when it comes out of a hose. So that's just a diffuser. Okay, so when I let the glue dry, then I'll come back and show you how it's working. All right, stand by. Okay, so we've waited about, it's been an hour and a half doing other things. So our piece of PVC, let's see, right here. Okay, the glue is dry. So we're running the filter. You can hear the sound of the slurping water and all the rest of that. Let's see, can you see? Yeah, so that's the water going in. Fills up the pipe. Goes over to here. That's where a lot of that slurping sound is coming out of right now, where the water's coming out of this pipe. Yeah, you can kind of see that there. Water comes out of that pipe over tops, goes down. Down the bottom, then up to the, oops, let's get over here. There we are. Okay, so it comes out here, and instead of going into the grow bed like it used to, now it's heading down straight back into the sump, and then the other part of the loop comes up. Okay, yeah, there. Comes up into here, and we're now running it. Can you see that? It's not coming through very well. Come around from this angle so you can see that any better. Yeah, there we go. So right here. Okay, and we're controlling that with the valve that's over here, which is nothing more than a hose connector, standard little piece of brass that you get out of hardware store, Home Depot, whatever. Is that upside down? Okay, there we are. Looked like it was upside down for a minute. Anyway, probably can't see that terribly well. Sun's really bright out here. So anyway, system's working. This valve allows me to control the water going into the grow bed, so I can now get that balanced so it ebbs and flows properly. And the fish tank can now run at virtually full speed, getting water in, getting water out. So, let's see. I'm under a blue tarp, as you can tell, so it's kind of putting some interesting colors in here. So anyway, as any other project that I've done in the last couple of years, it didn't work out the way it looked like on the videos, but you learn by doing. So if I have any advice to you at all, it's get out and do. Study something as much as you think you need to, so you don't do anything that's going to hurt somebody or be terribly wasteful of resources. But get out and do, because you only learn by doing. And the other thing is, if you're going to run a homestead, and I've said this several times, but I haven't said it recently, you've got to have pieces hanging around. Let me show you something here very briefly. Okay, a pile of pipe. I didn't buy any of this for this project. This is all stuff that was hanging around from other projects. And you can tell by the fact that that's glued together to a T. Every time I take a project apart, I try really hard to keep this stuff hanging around. In my shed, I have 2 big boxes of cut up pieces of pipe and fittings and what have you, angles. And then down in my basement, I've got another one of just basically empty fittings that have never been glued to anything. And I have a couple more fittings in here. They're going to get, let's see, that's a 2-inch, couple of 2-inch elbows. Excess to the requirement. I could return them and get a couple of bucks back, but at the rate I'm going, I'm going to need them for something, so I'm going to hang on to them. Stand by. So the reality is, if you've watched anybody else who does a lot of homesteading videos, you're going to have a, call it a junk pile, a recycling facility, whatever you want to call it, where you keep old stuff, extra stuff. It's got to stay organized to the point where you can find something fast. I tend to put a 15-minute limit on it. If I can't find it in 15 minutes, I don't have it. So I have to keep it organized to the point where I can at least get that much done. But other than buying the IBC tote for this project, the barrel that had been sitting behind the shed for 3 years because I bought it for another project that wound up getting scrapped before we actually built it. And I had to buy the growth media, all those clay balls down in the hydroponics section. The rest of this stuff was all around the homestead, being used in various things or being overcome by events in various things. So I think I bought a handful of fittings. Yeah, I bought most of the 2-inch fittings, but I had the 2-inch pipe hanging around. So understand that the cost of these things can be deferred to a large extent if you can keep stuff hanging around. You're never going to have Better Homes and Gardens kind of place if you're going to be able to do this kind of stuff with stuff you have hanging around. Those two things just are kind of incompatible. Everybody has this view of, I want to have a farmstead that looks just like something out of Mother Earth News. Not going to happen, dude. You're going to have 45 projects that are half done, 3/4 done, almost finished, but you can't get to it to finish it because you got to do something else first. If you can't live like that, well, sorry, that's been my view, my experience trying to turn a house into a homestead. So anyway, get out and do stuff. Learn stuff, learn skills, practice skills, and do what you can, because we've got some hard times coming. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.